Hey everybody, this is Steve with the PATC, and in the spirit of the holiday, I figured that I would spend a little time on this episode of Plastic Bits sharing with you one of my favorite holiday stories. So I know that all of you out there probably have similar stories of waking up and storming the tree and having just this whirlwind of wrapping paper detritus all over the place. I just figured it would be kind of neat to share with you all one of my stories. And it's one that doesn't necessarily cast me in the best light, but it's really, really interesting nonetheless. So, a little bit of background on me. When I was a kid, uh, I come from a low income background, but I had a terrific family, so I would never, ever, ever trade it for anything. But Christmas was like the big time for me. I mean, it was the main event, the big show. Around Christmas time, I would start becoming a absolute neurotic mess when I was a kid. I am ashamed to admit that, but we've all got our faults. Since this was the big one for me, um, about the 20th, 21st, boy, I must have been really hard to deal with. Um, Earlier that summer, a friend of mine had gotten a Power Master Optimus Prime. He was kind of a spoiled kid that lived across the lot from my grandparents' house. So he always had like the coolest, newest toys, and for no reason. No allowance saved, no hard work, no yard work. He just got them. So all I wanted for Christmas was Power Master Optimus Prime from 1988. I was just sick for it. My dad had come into town and uh, let me go and pick an early Christmas present, and that one was a little too much. I think it was about 25 bucks at the time, so I actually got a Pretender. And in comparison, the Pretender's not so awesome as Power Master Optimus Prime. But anyways, uh, I had gone into my normal holiday neurosis, and on Christmas Eve, I couldn't convince my mom to let me open anything. So we did Christmas Eve down at my grandma's place, and I got plenty of awesome presents there. When we got home, I could not sleep. I was up at midnight. I was up at 1. I was up at 2. And finally, at like 3 in the morning, I went in and woke my mom up and was like, "Oh, come on, mom, just let me open one." And I had been shaking presents and comparing sizes and all of that stuff that an awful, absolutely awful kid does. And I thought that I had found a box that looked like Power Master Optimus Prime. So at like 3, finally through this attrition and need to sleep, my mom says, "Okay, okay, just pick out one." So I grabbed the box, sure that it would be Power Master Optimus Prime, and it was a generic tank vehicle. I think that was made probably by like Tyco or Remco or something. And I just started sobbing. I mean, what a spoiled ass brat. If I was in my mom's shoes, I would have taken all the presents out from under the tree. Uh, there would have been some sort of punishment, but my mom has like the patience of a saint. So off to bed I went and cried myself to sleep. And then I was up at 5 and I laid in bed until 6 and finally got my mom up at about 7. My sister and I were like that scene on the movie Gremlins when all the Mogwai are going to misbehave and eat after midnight and they're jumping around and everything. So we finally got onto the presents, tore through them, and it was like 85% through. I did get Power Master Optimus Prime, and it was like this huge wave of elation and relief. And again, I was an awful kid around Christmas, so you can comment on that if you want to. But my happiness didn't last too long. Um, it was probably about 9 o'clock or so. There was a lot of kids in my neighborhood, and we had 3 boys that lived next door. They're kind of like my age, and then a few years younger, a few years younger. So we all met outside on Christmas Day, and we're playing with our toys and running around the neighborhood. And I showed off my super awesome Power Master Optimus Prime. And when I got back to my yard, it was missing. Couldn't find it anywhere. So I'm in like a panic at this point, and I'm asking the neighbor kids, and one of the 3 next door said that they saw a kid come into the yard and head over toward the school. So where I lived was up at the top of 10th and Hawthorne in Kennewick, and we're adjacent to Eastgate Elementary, which was also adjacent to the Ben Franklin County Fairgrounds, and there was a big Eastgate Park, so it's a huge chunk of geography. So I got my aunt and all these kids together, and we formed up a posse, and we just went every which way we possibly could. and could not find that toy. So I'm I'm assuming that all the stress that I went through that day was a contributing factor to the missing spots up here. But nonetheless, couldn't find it. It was gone. I was absolutely dismayed. And then something odd happened. My friend William, my hero, WD, William Osborne, he actually went into the neighbor kid's house and he found my toy in there. And I was absolutely incensed at this point, that this neighbor kid would have grabbed my stuff and lied and wanted to steal it and hide it in his house. But, in retrospect, uh, if he wanted it that bad, and I knew things were not terrific for that family next door, maybe he needed more than I did. Couldn't have told me at the time, but that was a real experience for me. And I could have lived without this toy. I would have gotten over it. Um, he didn't really get into much trouble per se, but I did get it back. But now here we are. I'm 44 years old, and I've got umpteen of these things in my collection. And maybe if that kid wanted it bad enough to steal it, he really did need something. So um, I'm ashamed of this Christmas story, but I'm wondering if any of you ever experienced the same thing. I would really, really like to hear some of your Christmas stories, or I'm sorry, holiday stories, regardless of what holiday it is that you celebrate. And drop them in the comments below, or record a video and stick it in the comments. So there you go. That is my super stressful Steve was an awful kid at Christmas time story. So uh, if I don't hear from you in the comments, see you in the toy aisle.